good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Bruce, I am sorry about your mom's Mariners. My heart goes out to her.
Thank you.
When you are playing one of the greatest home run hitters in postseason history, I suppose that stuff happens, and I'm talking about George Springer.
Yeah, when you get a ball up, even slightly, in a place where a guy like that can hit it, he's going to feast, and he did. I mean, it's a shame. A 3-run seventh ends up undoing what was a 3-1 lead into the seventh. Mariners had an unbelievable season, a great finish to the season. They were arguably baseball's best team down the stretch of the season. And, there's a lot of teams that would have loved to have played in a Game 7 of an American League or a National League Championship Series. So you got to take that with you. But tough way to lose, man. Tough way to lose.
I do feel good for the city of Toronto, because for a city that is so hockey starved for a championship,
right?
At least they got it with the Argonauts. I mean, potentially the Blue Jays.
Thank you for the Argonaut reference. That's a good effort.
Yeah.
We'll have to, one of these days we'll have to play college or Canadian Football League locations and nicknames.
Okay.
See how many of them we could name. They haven't had anything since '93, since Joe Carter hit the home run against Mitch Williams, and they had one of the most iconic moments in World Series history. But good for the Blue Jays. I hate the Dodgers. And when I say I hate the Dodgers, I respect the Dodgers. They've got deep pockets, and people are a little quickly to dismiss the Dodgers because the Dodgers do it the right way. They draft, they develop, they locate talent. They have the money to sign the talent, all of the things that go with it. Yes, but they know what they're doing, and they do it well. And this is a good matchup. Toronto and the Dodgers, I think, will be a good matchup, and I'll look forward to watching Game 1 coming up on Friday night.
I certainly understand why people don't like the Dodgers winning all of the time.
Yeah.
They bring in a lot of high-priced free agents.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not fail to recognize how well they draft and develop.
Yes.
And I think it would be rich for a Toronto Blue Jays fan to go into the World Series saying, well, the Dodgers buy players. My question for all Blue Jays fans would be, what round did the Blue Jays take Springer in?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's a Houston Astro showing up big for the Toronto Blue Jays.
What round did the Blue Jays take Joe Carter in?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, growing up a Cubs fan,
yes,
it was painful watching him hit that home run.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a high draft pick for the Chicago Cubs that came to fruition in Toronto, then later in Cleveland. So, yeah, that's just the nature of baseball. The World Series, I think it's a good one, and I think it's I think it's a pleasing one. I think that baseball fans will be happy with it, and those that are on the fringe of it, that don't have a football game to watch on a particular night or something, would probably benefit by checking in because I like the matchup. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. If you want to buy what you want at the price you want, highly recommend you check out rollerauction.com, the leader Colorado auctions for over 45 years. Today, Blue Spruce Cyclery is having an auction for mountain bikes, road bikes, and kids bikes from great brands like Bianchi, Rocky Mountain, and Giant. The auction also includes helmets, shoes, accessories, snap-on tools, pallet racking, and more. Online bidding has started at rollerauction.com. To learn about upcoming auctions, there are so many good ones coming up. Just go to their website, rollerauction.com. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
So the Nuggets are keeping the core together even more than they had been 24 plus hours ago. Christian Braun has signed a 5-year, $125 million contract extension with the Nuggets. How important was it to keep him as a centerpiece, for lack of a better phrase, of this roster moving forward?
Eric, you and I love the glue guy term.
Yeah.
We love that term. We talk about it a lot. This is a better than glue guy because he's a better player than most glue guys. You know, you give compliments to players that fill that role. Sometimes maybe they're not as good a players as a Braun is. Christian Braun, he is a legitimate talent that also happens to be a glue guy. So that's a great combination when you can get it. When you can get a player that can play at a high level in the NBA, that can score, that can defend, that can play in transition, that is a dog, that gets after it all the time. And those are the types of players that you love to have. And every indication on Christian Braun is that he's a great teammate, a great locker guy, all the way back to his time at the University of Kansas and before that in high school, growing up in the state of Kansas. He's been nothing but an exemplary teammate.
He has won a championship at every significant level. He has never been the star of any of those teams either. I think for any team that is going to win a championship, you need a guy like a Christian Braun. You need a guy like Alex Caruso. Okay?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best players, but the guys who give you DAWG pretty much every night on the floor. A guy that you can say, okay, if there's a loose ball, no matter the situation, game 1, game 50, playoffs, he's always going to dive for a ball.
Yeah, without question.
You need guys like that. And he just has this aura of feisty, tough, all of that.
I think the Nuggets have two of the best foxhole guys in the NBA. And what I mean by that is, who in the hell in the NBA would you rather have in your foxhole with you than Christian Braun and Aaron Gordon?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Those are two guys that will do anything to win you a game, anything. And they're tough. They're great teammates. So I think it's a really good move. I think it's a good move to lock him down now, still early in his career. I think you've got more than enough information on this guy. He turned into a very credible scorer consistently last year.
Yep.
And he does everything that you need to help win you games. So, and he does it without being a distraction.
Once his contract kicks in, the Nuggets payroll with 6 players is going to be $193 million. The second apron next year is expected to be at roughly $223 million. 6 players, $193 million. If you put 15 guys on a roster, you have $30 million to spread around for 9 guys. And some guys are going to have team options and things like that. You want to bring back Valanciunas, it's going to cost you about 13.
Right.
There goes not half of it, but certainly a third of it.
Yeah. There is no question.
It's win now, baby. You better.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, they are in a win now mode. I like the aggressiveness. I really do, because you can make the argument the last 2 years. I don't want to say they've wasted Nikola Jokic, because they've been trying in their own way. They've been trying, right, to do things. Oklahoma City has passed them, and so they've got some challenges to pull themselves back up into that upper tier. But I think they're there, and I think that they're doing everything in the moment to win another championship for Nikola Jokic, for the franchise, for the city, for the state, etc. And I like the aggressiveness, because you're absolutely right. There will be a point where they'll have to pay the piper.
And by the way, 5 years, $125 million. 30 years ago, that'd have been like, what?
Yeah,
for any player,
I
right?
hear you. Right.
He's getting paid $25 million a year. That is not crazy high by basketball standards.
No, it's not. And Denver's kind of the city of value. When you start looking around at contracts, you can make the argument, if you wanted to, that Nick Bonito is a value, that
Jonathan Cooper is the ultimate value.
Cooper.
He's the ultimate value meal.
Yeah,
Nick Bonito's
question.
now getting paid.
He's
expected with his salary to be 13 sacks a year now with his salary.
Right.
Jonathan Cooper is not.
Right. But even Bonito as a barely top 10 edge rusher is a pretty good value. I would agree. I think Jonathan Cooper is probably the best value on this team. Zach Allen is a good value. Hell, Pat Surtain is a really good value.
Bruce, if we're going to talk about the best values in sports and point at Denver, let's point at the worst value in Chris Bryant.
Yes, we did. I didn't include the Rockies for a particular reason, and that would be it.
And I'm just saying this for the point of the conversation, not to be argumentative.
Right.
Russell Wilson was arguably the worst value, maybe outside of Deshaun Watson as a quarterback in NFL history, when he was with the Broncos, talking about Wilson.
Yeah, no question about it. And I constantly remind people that you're talking about a $31 million windfall when this year ends, because the Broncos will be out from underneath the contract to Russell Wilson. Now, they waded into that pool and they got bit. And so this is a pay the piper moment, and the Broncos are doing it. And the great thing is they've been able to do it somewhat gracefully, but they're going to have at least $31 million more dollars plus whatever, benefits they get in the growth of the salary cap to seed that roster next year. So it's an exciting time for the Broncos for obvious reasons, but you're absolutely right. But it is kind of cool to look around Denver and see the players that they have. Now, look, Nikola Jokic is at the top of the food chain in terms of earnings. Cale McCarr, Nathan McKinnon. Those guys are getting paid all in relative terms for their respective sport. But it is interesting to see there is a lifestyle thing about living in Colorado and being in Colorado, and that is, I think, very attractive to people.
Let me give you one of the best values in the NHL right now. We're only 10 games in. It's Martin Necas.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's one of the best values in the NHL. And he's about to be outvalued, or I should say more accurately, likely out the door after this season is over.
Yeah.
He's off to a career start. Good for him. The better he plays, the more the meter goes up, and the less the Avalanche will have a chance to keep him. And let's not forget, he was the key in the Rantanen deal.
Let me ask you this. How much Marty Necas is a guy, obviously, with a great skill set.
Yep.
How much does he benefit with by the line that he is playing on? Just from an overall standpoint, how much money is Nathan McKinnon and Gabe Landeskog going to make for Marty Necas?
Playing on an offensive line with Nathan McKinnon is the equivalent in some ways to playing on the floor with Nikola Jokic.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I would think so. Look, that's not taking anything away from Marty Necas. He's a hellacious player, and I'm just coming into my understanding of how good he is. But it's especially in hockey, you are so closely tied to the guys that you skate on that line with. And I can't imagine a better player to play with than Nathan McKinnon, not to mention you're on similar shifts with Cale McCarr on the blue line at the same time. So you're playing with two of the absolute best scorer/facilitators in all of hockey.
Well, remember something, that Makar is not always out there at the same time Netchus and McKinnon are.
Right. Yeah.
However, they do have a slight advantage when they just happen to have an extra guy on the ice at 2 minutes a pop, sometimes 5 minutes a pop.
Yep.
Mikko Rantanen is off to a nice start this year.
He is.
He's on pace for 115 points. He's playing with a great team, though. That certainly helps. But I don't know if Rantanen will ever finish with the same numbers in a single season than when he played with McKinnon.
Yeah,
I don't want to give McKinnon all of the credit for that. But the truth is, when you play with a guy like McKinnon, where all eyes go to him once he crosses over the blue line, you're basically playing. You're not going to double team, Nathan McKinnon necessarily,
right?
But you always have. You may not have two bodies on McKinnon, but the defense, if you have one guy out there who's not on him but close to him, and somebody is on McKinnon, that other guy has one eye on McKinnon and one eye on his guy.
Yeah,
in theory. So you have 1.5 guys in theory on McKinnon, not necessarily two. You always have to account for where McKinnon is on the ice. And if you don't, he will personally beat you. But you're going to get some open looks.
Yeah.
You're going to get some open. When the puck comes to you, there's probably a pretty good chance there isn't a defenseman who's about to slide in front of you to block the puck. Because you will have when you have McKinnon on the ice, generally speaking, as a forward, you have space to work with.
I thought their game the other night and Boston hasn't been playing well. They'd gotten whipped pretty well in Vegas, I think 2 nights previously. But I thought the Avs just kind of dismantled Boston. And the Bruins are a good team. I mean, they were only okay last year. Maybe they're only okay this year. I don't know. It remains to be seen. But that was a game that I was kind of looking forward to, just to see. And Carolina later on this week at home, I think, because that's another team that will be good coming in here. But it was interesting to listen to Gabe Landeskog afterwards talking about the ceiling that this team has. You can tell the very calm confidence they have in their depth and the talent of their depth. I think that they feel like they have everything, and Blackwood hasn't even played. Yeah. Right. I mean, we haven't even seen their top goalkeeper. Wedgwood's been unbelievable.
By the way, on a side note, Netchus will likely be gone.
Yeah.
And so will Wedgwood.
Yeah, more than likely.
Agent too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and deserves it.
Yeah,
I mean, deserves to be a number one somewhere. So I mean, the way that he's playing right now. Well, anyway, so it goes, and then we've got Brown and the Nuggets opening up this week at Golden State, and then they come home on the weekend to get Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets. So here we go, baby. It's a great time of the year.
I'll tell you something. Maybe you can help explain this to me. I understand as long as Golden State has Steph Curry, they're always going to be a threat in some ways. I don't understand what I'm reading out of NBA national writers that there are more than a few looking at Golden State saying they're going to be the ones who win the title.
Yeah, that's a resurgent pick, isn't it? And you wonder where it comes from, other than just the blind faith that people have in Steph Curry. I don't know. I mean,
well, Jimmy Butler's pretty good.
Well, and that is an addition that they made late in last season, and they are a better team for it.
There's no question.
I am not sure that I would elevate them into the Oklahoma City, Denver realm, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, how many more years does Steph Curry have? Because he continues to play at a remarkably high level, and maybe he can continue to elevate this basketball team. But boy, there's a lot on his shoulders.
No question. Coming up after the break, just when they got back Dre Greenlaw, the Broncos are losing Dre Greenlaw. And Sean Payton was asked a pointed question at yesterday's press conference. And good for someone for asking it. Wait till you hear this question if you haven't heard it, and then wait till you hear the answer from Sean. That's next. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Here's another great promotion from Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk. On December 13th, it's their annual holiday auction for a pair of Super Bowl tickets, tools, jewelry, electronics, toys, and kitchen appliances. Earn auction currency with every locked-up jackpot, players' points, or a daily cash drawing. There's so many ways to earn currency, and the more you play, the more you'll be able to bid and win what you want at their auction. So get up to Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos and start stacking your auction currency today.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
And welcome back. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. I was calling sources.
Yeah, good. Sources say.
On the East Coast. I was calling sources on the East Coast who hopefully have woken up by now. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Hey, NFL has suspended Dre.
Did you see Terrence Ferguson got in the end zone?
I did. One catch, 33 yards. His parents were over in Scotland. Yep.
That is fantastic. I was thinking of them as I was because I was already in the stadium, and I happened to get in there right as it was like the fourth of Matt Stafford's 5 touchdown passes. Right. It was great to see. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, don't worry about it. Dre Greenlaw played for 1 game. Now he's out for 1 game. He has been suspended by the NFL for allegedly chasing down and verbally threatening referee Brad Allen as he tried to leave the field. The video that I looked at, it looked like that the referee kind of pushed Justin Stranad as everybody was celebrating. Listen, in the moment, and you have a big guy like Stranad coming right near you, I'm sure you're going to put your arms out to make sure you don't get hit. I don't think it was an intentional thing, honestly, where Allen is thinking, I'm going to take a shot at an NFL player on national television.
Probably not a great outcome if one decides to do that. Look, it's a he said, type of thing. If you're going to wade into an appeal here and you've got 3 days to do it, fine. If you want to take your chances, I don't think there's going to be anything. I don't know if there's any recordings even in this day and age in the din following that kick that could be used as evidence. I think this is probably a take your medicine and deal with it kind of moment for Dre Greenlaw and the Broncos. Unfortunate. It's clear that he chased after the official. It's clear that something was said. What was said, maybe we'll never really know. But here we are, and it's just an unfortunate result in a great moment for the Broncos, a great moment of celebration.
All right, Sean Payton was asked at yesterday's press conference by our friend Darren McKee. People know him as D-Mac. He said at the end of the press conference, just to mix it up, Sean, have you had any consideration to handling the play calling off even for a short period of time to get a different rhythm? Payton responded quickly, and I think it's fair to say tersely. No, I think we're comfortable as an offensive staff and how we're operating. And then there was a small pause, and bang, the press conference was over.
Yeah.
You were on that call, I'm guessing. Yeah. I was not. And I'm on for more than a few calls. With that, you think it was a fair question, and do you think Payton should consider it?
I didn't have a problem with the question.
Let me ask you something, because I'm about to go off on a rant here. Potentially.
Okay. All right.
Potentially here. Do you think a lot of people have been thinking about this in Broncos country and in the media? Should Sean give up play calling duties? Maybe not you, but do you think a lot of people have thought about it?
I'm sure that people have thought about it. I mean, it's one thing to think about it casually. It's another thing to think about it in terms of how you're going to restructure your offensive staff with someone else calling plays and how it all works. But I understand. I didn't think that Sean called a particularly good game last weekend against the Giants. I think I said that yesterday on the show. I think that Sean has admitted it a couple of times that he has not been in good rhythm himself. You got to have two people in good rhythm. You've got to have your play caller and your quarterback in good rhythm. I think that there's a fair amount of evidence. All you got to do is watch this offense every single week. There's a fair amount of evidence that rhythm is lacking in this offense. There's a fair amount of evidence that when they do function well, they generally function well in up-tempo situations. So it begs the question, do you try to find more pace and tempo to play with for this quarterback and this offense? No, the question did not bother me. And it probably bothered Sean Payton a little bit.
It did.
But 6 or 7 questions is usually about the limit on a Monday. And I thought I didn't think he was aggressive with his answer
wasn't.
By any stretch. In fact, your tone was pretty much exactly how Sean responded. Kind of like, no, we're comfortable with our offensive staff and how we're operating.
Okay. I want to dig deep on something that I brought up earlier.
You go.
You don't have any empirical evidence of what I'm about to ask. I'm asking for your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
As the media was on this call yesterday, what percentage of media members who cover the Broncos have thought the same thing that Darren asked?
Probably after the game on Sunday.
Yes.
Probably 70%. I don't know.
70%.
Yeah,
okay.
Whatever.
I'm about to get in trouble here with my peers. Okay. Anybody who had a chance to ask a question, in theory, yesterday's press conference, in theory, did. It was the last question. There are sometimes questions in press conferences that are just really good, insightful questions that elicit great responses. And because this is a media session, a gangbang as they call it, everybody has the freedom to use any bite that comes out of a press conference.
Right.
There are a small handful of people in the Denver media who are afraid to ask tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
Just name the sport, right?
Yeah.
Would you call this a tough media market?
No.
Okay. Either would I. And I've worked in tough media markets.
Right.
What I'm about to say is going to come out of nowhere. And I'm sure I might have a few peers who are upset with me when I say this, but I'm certainly not going to name anybody's names. Darren McKee asks tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are a small handful of others that ask tough questions. And then there are the rest who let other people do the work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they write it up in a column, and then they write it up in a story, and then they talk about it on podcasts or use it on television or sports talk radio. I think everyone in the media, in the Denver media, needs to take a good, hard look at themselves and say, was I thinking what Darren was going to ask? And if the answer is yet, you should have enough pride not to use that bite at all. I'm tired. I am tired. I've been in this market for 20 years, Bruce.
Yeah, right.
It is unfortunate that there are a small handful of media members that carry the water for everybody else because they're so afraid of asking a tough question or pissing off the head coach or getting a player upset. Have some pride if you're just going to throw softballs up there to Sean, and don't use the questions, or I should say specifically the answers that you were thinking of asking in the form of a question, but you're too afraid to do. Man up, put on your big boy pants, and stop having guys like Mark Kisla, Darren McKee, Troy Rank, Jeff Legwald,
Right.
just to name a few.
Sure.
Carry your water. And so you can go back to your TV station and cut up the bite because you were too chicken shit to ask the question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it.
I'm not talking about a question
Yeah.
that is insightful, out of the box. That's different. When you know that's what a lot of people are talking about, and you've waded through an entire press conference and no one's asked it until the last guy, another typical guy who will ask tough questions. And you know that someone who asks tough questions is going to ask that question. So you could just sit back and you could just cherry pick whatever you want from that press conference. If you have a history of asking tough questions, you have every right to use that bite, and you have every right to talk about that bite. But if you're too afraid to ask it, sorry, you should not be allowed to use it. Obviously, there are no rules. Clearly, you can use it if you want to, but show some pride in your fucking work.
It would not be a question at this point that I would ask, only because I already know the answer. And there are times when
Don't you want to get somebody on the record? Come on, Bruce.
Yeah,
You are as seasoned as anyone I know.
Yeah.
And you are one of the smartest guys I've ever met in the business. All of those things. You are not confrontational, but you will ask tough questions.
Yeah, I have, because I don't care about the response.
And that's my point exactly. Yeah. You have a history of everyone's. I don't know if you would go to that level of saying, "Hey, Sean, should you give up play calling duties?"
Yeah.
But you do have. You have. I've been in press conferences with you. You do ask tough questions. I'm talking about a lot of the other guys.
No, I understand, and I understand, and there's no. I'm not. I'm not trying to be even remotely defensive. There's sometimes you got to measure. There are questions that are asked for just the reaction to the question, not necessarily always the information that will come from the reaction. So sometimes, and I'm not saying that that's the case with DMAC, and he's a guy that you and I both respect and like. He's a great dude.
When I heard his question,
yeah.
when I was driving in my car, I was listening to Altitude. They played the bite of him asking the question.
Mm-hmm.
I texted him immediately at a stoplight and said, good for you for having the balls to ask that question.
Absolutely.
Because too many are too afraid to do it. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're a beat writer or not. I'm worried about losing my relationship. I'm worried about I'm not going to get stories. Do your job. Ask tough questions. If you're thinking it, then ask it. If you weren't thinking it, then I suppose it's just nothing more than gross negligence of not thinking to ask that question with
Right.
what we have seen from this Broncos offense this year. And we have criticized, and rightfully so, Sean Payton for his play calling. It is an obvious question, but you don't want to ask Sean that question because you don't want to piss him off. And I understand why, but then just don't use the answer. If you're thinking it, you should not be allowed to use that answer. I'm sorry. Unless you have a history of asking tough questions and it was somebody else's turn that time.
Yeah. I think the thing that I liked the most out of that press conference yesterday was the answer to Parker Gabriel's question about, okay, you're talking about changes. Well, where do you start? And Sean went into, well, you start with who, and then who are you asking to do the things that you want to do? Then you get into the scheme. Is the scheme the right thing for us? And he talked about, I thought it was very interesting that he talked about maybe we have the wrong players in situations. This, to me, was the most solid nugget that came out of that press conference yesterday, because that, to me, is a working model for moving forward for the next 3 days of practice. Now we have a path to really pay attention to people in different places. Where are guys, who's taking snaps, who's in this position, who's in that position. There are things that have to be tightened up considerably on this football team for them to function at a higher level. And I think it's remarkable that we're still having these questions and these quandaries 7 weeks in on a team that's 5-2. On a team that's 5-2 and has lost those 2 games by walk-off field goals. And we're still asking the questions about execution, personnel, discipline, all of these things that are still being asked, that Sean Payton is asking about. And by the way, Sean Payton is responsible for a lot of the things that he's still asking questions about. Accountability from players, for discipline or lack of discipline. For God's sakes, he mentioned it on the podium on Sunday. He shouldn't have been out on the field,
right?
After the pass interference call.
Yeah, don't talk about discipline when you show everybody on your team that you lacked it yourself.
Absolutely, and he knew it, and he was as apologetic as he can be. I mean, he admitted it.
He owned it. Good for him.
He did own it. He did own it, and he owned it in the moment, which is a good thing. But to your point, yeah, there are. I agree with you. There are. Media has changed, not always for the best, but for the lack of and at the risk of sounding like a grumpy old guy. You do have layers of media now that are just happy to be along for the ride. And I think ultimately that's kind of what you're saying.
Are you referring to the entire room of Deion Sanders press conferences? Almost the outside of Sean Keeler. Are you basically referring to almost that entire room where they're just happy to be there, to be in the presence of Coach Prime?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't covered that program, so I don't cover that program.
But you know who's in the room.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely.
It's disappointing. It's not. You know what? Again, I'm going to repeat what you said, but this time coming out of my mouth. I'm an old school guy. Mm-hmm. I am 57. I've said this for years, that, and you don't do it intentionally, if you haven't pissed somebody off in an organization,
right,
whether it's an executive coach or player, the saying goes, you haven't done your job.
yes.
I'm not trying. Listen, the reason why I feel I can get away with saying what I just said about asking tough questions, I've been known to ask a few.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when I ask a question that everybody is thinking, and then I see it on the news, I see it in the papers, I see it on podcasts, I hear it on sports talk radio, all I think to myself is, for some, do your fucking job, and I'm tired of doing your job for you.
There you go. I mean, you are never going to be able to totally slide by in this industry without being able to ask difficult questions.
Oh, that's Bruce. That is so not true. You have covered major professional sports teams, major college teams, and you know plenty of guys who basically hide in the back of the room. Then they want to hear the sound of their own voice, so they throw up a softball question just so the coach knows that they're there. They don't ask anything of any substance at all. Again, there's a small handful of guys in this market who deserve a lot of credit for doing the work of others.
Well, depth is important, and not just in terms of a roster or of when you're in the media, you need depth in your reporting, and sometimes getting into depth means that you got to get into uncomfortable places. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is.
It's like taking an open note test. Everybody has the same notes.
Yeah.
If you're taking a regular test and no one can see your paper, then everybody's on their own. Yeah. But in a gangbang type of situation, when you're at a press conference, everybody gets to use what everybody asked.
Yes, absolutely. It is fair game. Whether it should be or not is a different kind of debate, but you don't have opportunities. Rarely do you have opportunities for one-on-ones with head coaches in this market.
All I'm saying is to the guys who leech off of other media members who ask tough questions, just for once, ask a tough one yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you've gotten phone calls. I got a phone. I mean,
yes,
I was called in theory to Mike Shanahan's office. I got a call from Pierre Lacroix, Dan O'Dowd, who's now a good friend. He was pissed at me for a very long time. Mark Warkentine, the former GM, threatened to sue me, literally called me and said, and here is a quote, "I can't believe what you said. If you ever say this again, quote, I will fucking sue you." And he slammed down the phone. I'm not proud of those moments.
No, I hear you.
But sports is about giving opinion. It's about giving opinion. And to me, I look at our job as we are the voice of the fan.
Very much so.
I am asking questions by listening to what other people are saying and then clearly forming my own opinion. But when you're hiding in the bushes, just waiting for someone to give you your story today, quoting Josh McDaniels, do your job.
Well said. Yeah. I don't disagree with you at all. I don't understand it. I don't know why people would be in this business if they didn't have that kind of aggressive curiosity. That's the whole point of why I think you get in this thing. But
that's what the media is.
Yes.
For all media.
Yes.
In theory, the purpose of the White House media, congressional media, is to hold our leaders accountable, not to put out false shit, not fact check things. We need to ask questions that are important in the world of government, but it translates to sports as well.
It does, of course. Absolutely. And sports falls into the category of, more entertainment than anything. I mean, my God, when you're in politics and medicine and things like that, that actually make a huge difference in how the world functions and how it affects us as people and citizens and all of those things, that's a different kind of thing. We're kind of in the play box for media.
Right.
So it shouldn't be that hard, right? I mean,
Right.
what's the worst thing that can happen to a question that you can ask? Maybe a little open ridicule, a little roll of the eyes, or, that's a stupid question.
No, I'll tell you what it is.
Whatever. Who cares?
If you ask Sean a question that he's not happy about, your concern is the next time you ask a question, he's going to be short and terse with you. Right?
I mean,
with any figure that you interview, if somebody doesn't like a question and you're out there enough and they know you, they're going to remember that.
Yeah.
You ask a question in a fair way. There are plenty of ways to ask really, really difficult questions in a very fair way. But either you don't have the ability to put those words together to make it a fair question where you are not being antagonistic, right? Or you have zero filter at all, and then you deserve what you get. If Darren said to Sean, dude, over the last 3 games, this offense has been complete shite over the last 10 quarters, and you've gotten a couple of big fourth quarter comebacks in which, by the way, you're running really a 2-minute offense, and you're not allowing the defense to come off the field,
right?
And you're allowing your quarterback to read the defense. That all looks really, really good. But the percentages say you're not going to have a chance to go far in the playoffs playing 2 good quarters out of 10. What is going on, Sean? You're the common denominator calling plays. Yeah. Why is this problem going on? And maybe should you hand it off to somebody else?
Yeah, DMAC asked it perfectly yesterday.
Yeah, you don't ask the question.
The whole 9 yards. Right.
You don't ask the question that way.
Right.
There is a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone should be forced to ask 3 difficult questions a year, or else you lose your prospects.
There you go. I don't, and by the way, I think it's freeing. I mean, there's a big part of me that says, give it a try if you've never done it before, because it does give you a different feeling of latitude where I can go by asking questions. You don't want to ever, as a member of the media, paint yourself into a corner where you're not willing to kind of go outside the box and your comfort level. That's where you find good things about yourself and your ability to do this job the right way. So, that's kind of the ongoing challenge in the media. So, but good for DMAC. It was a solid question. Well presented. Yep. It was not aggressive by any stretch of the imagination, and good on Sean for the way that he answered the question. That could have been a very personal interpretation of an attack on his ability or perceived lack of ability right now with the way that the offense is going. Everyone handled it well.
That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Make it the best possible day you can.